Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football Podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Kaya Kainak.
Hello.
And John McKenzie.
There's been too much censoring in this podcast. I make a stance. I rebut you.
There was a lot of censoring, but it was always of things spoken and not things shown.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What were you showing?
Nothing. I said there was nothing shown. Nothing. I'm simply saying nothing was shown that would need to be censored.
Yes.
You know?
I think you're very much a benevolent dictator when it comes to this podcast, aren't you?
I'm always benevolent in everything I do. Occasionally I'm malicious, but it's very usually it's benevolent.
But yeah, lots of censoring has happened, which makes Joe appear in a good light, essentially. But deep down, you should know.
Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football Podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and this is the second time I've recorded today's intro, but I'm delighted to be joined by Kaya Kainak.
Hello again.
And John McKenzie.
Hello, Joe.
And how many things have we cut from this episode, John?
Hundreds of things.
It's
We've even had to censor the intro.
We've censored a whole version
I wanted
of
to
the
be
intro.
on record that this is because Joe is...
That's the second time you've said that. And it's funny.
Yeah, and that got cut the first time.
John's going to say
have to do a third intro now.
exactly the same things he said the first time round. Now, listen, before we get started today, let me say, we've mentioned a few times, haven't we, although I don't remember any of these instances, that we are now doing the Tifo Football Podcast twice weekly. Very exciting. This is the first instance of the second show. It's just me, Kaya, John today. It'll be a different casts over the course of the season. And in a minute, I'll tell you what we talk about. But before we do that, let me say, Steve wants you to know, we've not completely decided what our regular upload time for it is yet. So the best way for you to keep a track of that is just to...
Remain vigilant.
Remain vigilant at all times.
I made that joke in the first cut.
Always be checking your phone for an update from me. Have I dropped a new mega podcast? No. Most times you look, the answer is no. But twice a week, the answer will be yes. So it'll probably be there on maybe a Wednesday evening, sometimes maybe a Thursday morning, sometimes. It also could change to respond to news, but there'll be a second episode at some point. The last thing for me to say also is, please, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does actually help. You know, hold on. I want big number. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want big number, please. Okay? And if you're listening, please subscribe to the Listening RSS feed channel.
And vice versa,
You can follow people on Spotify, for example.
Oh, yeah, you can do that, can't you?
And whichever, adjective is used to sort of subscribe, follow, etc. on your various platforms.
Smash that like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Lads.
Yeah.
Mainly, yeah.
Maybe just tickle it, as though you're salmon fishing. You know when you've got to be very gentle when the salmon come by.
What are you doing to the salmon?
For the salmon, you're tickling the chin of the salmon.
To a salmon?
A salmon.
Why would you tickle the
trout.
chin of
You
a
can
salmon?
catch a trout with your bare hands.
Have you ever seen that?
No, I've never caught a trout with my bare hands. I'm sorry.
I mean, neither have I. I think it's a very difficult thing to do. But generally speaking, there's an ancient technique for catching trout. I don't think it is salmon. It is trout, I think, where you pop your hands in the water and you tickle the chin of the trout. You hold them there very, very still. The trout comes up and it will observe.
Trout tickling is a fishing method involving gently stroking a trout's belly until it becomes relaxed and even enters a trance-like state, allowing the person to grab it and remove it from the water.
There you go. That's how you tickle the belly of a trout, and it just. They have that with.
While it may sound whimsical, the practice is often illegal in many areas.
Illegal,
especially in waters where fishing licenses are required.
Wow. Well, I guess I mean, if you need a license and you don't have one, then that would be the illegal
part of it. You sort of want to be known around town as like the. I'm so sorry.
Yet more was cut from the Tifo podcast. Good Lord. It's been a hell of a day for it. It's hot and sweaty in here, guys. It's hot and
Steve.
This is our third attempt.
I think this is
like fifth or sixth.
This is going to determine the podcast release schedule because it can't come out before Friday now.
Now, listen. Let me just tell you what's in the episode. There'll be no more cuts from this point, okay? No more. We won't make any more mistakes. We'll just read exactly what Steve has written in the plan. Okay? First, we talk about the saga between Alexander Isak. Oh, you've written Alex Isak.
Because that's what they called him in the States.
Oh, I've already failed. I can't read exactly what Steve's written. That's wrong. Let me do it again. We talk about Here's what we talk about on today's show. We talk about Alexander Isak and the statement and the counter-statement and everything that happened last night between him and Newcastle at the PFA Player Awards. I mean, he wasn't there. He said he wasn't there. We talk about that part of it too. John acts out the response from Newcastle. That was a very exciting sort of Hollywood moment here. Really enjoyed that. We talk about the Tottenham one-horse race that Kaya suggested. Oh, no, it was John that suggested that they may yet lose. Very exciting. That bit's good. Who
for?
Who is the race for? Find out when we get there. And also, Kaya's here now, so we do return to Victor Gyökeres a bit so that I can have a bit of a laugh and we can hear what Kaya thought of his opening debut. What else? We get confused about the meaning of rebuttal and counter-rebuttal. We question whether it's possible to rebuttal someone before they've buttled you. I'm not sure if that's the case.
Buttling is actually a verb.
Can one buttle?
Yeah, that's when you're a butler.
You
buttle.
So you're buttling.
Right. When you're a butler.
Not B-U-T-T-A-L.
Sorry. Never has that word been pronounced more correctly.
Are you a butler?
A butler.
Right.
Buttlers buttle.
Really?
Yeah.
They buttle around?
Yeah.
Just constantly going around just disagreeing with people.
That doesn't sound like an appropriate...
Yeah, it's like, would you like to be buttled?
It sounds aggressive.
Buttle, verb, humorous, to work as a butler.
Humorous?
There is no one today worth buttling for.
Well, I think that's a joke, isn't it?
It's in Merriam-Webster.
No, but I think it's intended as a joke.
I guess what they've done is it's not backronym.
They've retroactively they've backverbed.
Why is there no one worth buttling for?
That was the definition.
Oh, okay, that's a shame.
The example.
It's not it's sort of a comment on society.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no one worthy of a bottle these days.
Society's gone wrong. Yeah.
It's a comment on Arsenal's current squad. Yeah.
There we go.
No one worth battling for. Anyway, we talk about that. We question which manager has spent the most money and how much since last winning a major trophy. That's a real head scratcher, isn't it, Kaya? Let's leave the audience.
Well, it depends on your definition of major trophy. That's what I'm going to say.
Not including the Emirates Cup. What else? We talk about fast break goals. Will we get more fast break goals this season? And we say, can you have an egg in your mouth? That's sort of, that was a confusing bit that happened later. Yeah, the egg in the mouth bit. And we talk about shirt numbers and the different ways in which they are significant. And that was the show. That was about it, wasn't it? Yeah. Did we get through that time, Steve?
I mean, I do reflect, and all the bit I wrote in the script precisely about buttling was unnecessary, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was unnecessary. The bit about buttling, yeah. But you set us off, didn't you?
Yeah, I know.
It's sort of your fault.
I know.
Can you see how you've done that?
I sometimes just choose chaos, don't I?
Yeah, he's done that.
Unlike Pep Guardiola.
Where else to begin, of course, than with the news that broke late last night of Alexander Isak and his statement, and then a subsequent counter-statement from Newcastle United. I don't know if it's controversial to call it a counter-statement. That sounds fun, doesn't it? But it was a statement in response to a statement, as
That's
sometimes
a counter-statement.
Yeah. It was one of my favourite games from 2008, Counter-Statement 2. Love playing that one. Really fun. Wait for them to write something a bit naughty to you, and then you say, "This is for these reasons I found your statement to be naughty. Here's my rebuttal." And Rebuttal 3, of course, one of the great video games out there. Here's what Alexander Isak said last night. He was, of course, referring to the PFA Premier League Team of the Season, or the awards ceremony that was on last night. He was, I think he got a place in the Team of the Season, didn't he? So he said, "I'm proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 24-25. He wrote this on an Instagram story. "First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for quite a long time. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors." This is Alexander Isak speaking, in case you forgot, because I know I was doing a great job. I transformed into a character. Let me carry on. Again, this is Alexander Isak. "The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself." So, I mean, it's a fairly explosive thing to write on the night of the PFA Awards. Or disrespect a sacrosanct evening.
Sort of equivalent to the Will Smith Oscar slap, isn't it?
Of course.
It's football's equivalent.
Anyway, I should read Newcastle's response because it's not quite as explosive. Although I did find, I think if you choose to, you can read in some funny moments of tone. But I'll see if you can spot them with my performance. We're disappointed.
Oh, Newcastle sound very similar to Alexander Isak.
I know. Unfortunately, I'm playing both roles. Would you like to play the Newcastle role?
Well, I don't have the...
Can you do a Geordie accent?
No, don't do a Geordie accent because that would be very disrespectful. But let me send you this article.
Have you heard Alexander Isak speak? He's got a very odd accent. Almost South London. Almost.
There's a lot of interesting accents.
Yeah.
You get these kids to come over when they're very young. And then
When did he leave Sweden? I guess he went to Spain, didn't he?
Yeah.
Germany first because he was at Dortmund.
He was at Dortmund.
He was very young.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know.
Well, Germany, Sweden, it's the same, isn't it? The accents. I've never heard any two different people from Germany and Sweden. Steve, is that correct? They all sound exactly the same?
No.
No, Seb Saffable will be very upset with me if he's here. Have you found their response?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. John Mackenzie, I'd like to entrust you with giving the Newcastle response, please.
We are disappointed.
But wait, before you begin, I want you to read it. These are my notes to you, okay? And these, just to be absolutely clear, are not my interpretation of how Newcastle were intending this to be read. This is purely for dramatic purposes. For the retelling here, I choose to creatively interpret them in a way that I don't believe that they were originally intended, okay? Mm-hmm. I want you to read it in a sort of very corporate tone, but one where you know that just beneath the surface is an undertone of condescension that you know cannot be called out because it's not actually there. Go.
We are disappointed to have been alerted to a social media post by Alexander Isak this evening.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it.
We are clear in response that Alex remains under contract.
Alex.
And that no commitment has ever been made by a club official that Alex can leave Newcastle United this summer. We want to keep our best players, but we also understand players have their own wishes.
We understand.
And we listen to their views.
We listen to everyone. We've got a corporate social responsibility program.
As explained to Alex and his representatives, we must always take into consideration the best interests of Newcastle United, the team, and our supporters in all decisions.
Sure. That's utilitarianism right there.
And we have been clear that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired.
No.
We do not foresee these conditions being met.
Oh, that's a strike and a blow right there. There's more, right?
This is a proud football club with proud traditions, and we strive to retain our family feel.
Yeah.
Alex remains part of our family and will be welcomed back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates.
That's my favourite line. He will be welcomed back when he's ready to rejoin his teammates. That kind of line is the sort of thing that would mean I would never, ever go back to work, ever. I don't know. I find that final line. We're going to talk about the interpretation before Newcastle fans lose their with me. I'm not making any statements right now as to what I believe, who I believe to be correct or incorrect in this situation. I'm simply thinking about the language. I would hear that. I would feel very condescended to by that final statement when he's not like when he chooses to, which gives you some autonomy, but when he's ready to calm down and come back and sit down with the other boys and learn like everybody else. It feels very school teachery, doesn't it? Having said that, you gotta say, I don't know, Kyle, I'm gonna start with you. He's not really gone about this in probably a way that's gonna help him. Unless, of course, it works and he gets to leave Liverpool, in which case, fine. But he will have at least knowingly tarnished his reputation with all the fans.
Definitely. I don't see how he can go back to Newcastle now, although they're ready to welcome him back into the family.
They're ready.
With open arms.
With open arms.
Yeah.
When he runs into that open embrace, I fear that he might find it a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Because, thing is, football fans have very short memories. And the second Isak is back in the Newcastle team and scores 20 goals again like he did last season, I think people will forget it quite quickly, particularly if Newcastle finish in the Champions League again and he's their most important player.
Yeah.
That said, it will tarnish the relationship somewhat, and that sort of closeness and the love that was there will have disappeared. But it seems like that's a price he's kind of willing to pay. So I think once he's accepted that in his head, then I don't know if you can necessarily say he's played it wrong, because it seems like he was kind of fine with it anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like he thinks he's been pushed to a breaking point where he feels he has to do this. Whether you agree or not on that, it's up to you. But it seems from his perspective that he's thinking, well, all this is going on around me. I need to somehow say something to sort of prove that like this is where I stand, and I'm not trying to do anything different. But I don't see how he gets what he wants from this situation unless he can tell Liverpool to pay the price that the terms of sale that Newcastle want. And it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But then Newcastle also needs to bring in a replacement for him before he leaves. There's lots that need to happen before the deal can go through. And yeah, it's very messy.
Yeah.
Which is very entertaining.
Sure.
But yeah, not good for that family atmosphere.
Well, from Isak's point of view still, John, obviously Newcastle are very clear in their statements that nobody at the club has made a promise that he can leave this summer. So we'll obviously take that at face value. My interpretation of the way that Isak and representatives are acting is that they must believe that something was said. Otherwise, it's like it would seem insane to me to just make that up. That like there presumably is some kind of misunderstanding here, or like some like difference in interpretation of what's been said, events along the way. Because otherwise, it's just nuts, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, I think so. It's hard to speculate on it one way or the other because.
We don't
one
know.
way or the other, you're casting aspersions on one side or the other, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's a very odd situation. The language of like the family that they're using is very weird, right? Because essentially what's happening here is like corporate brinkmanship. Like you've got a contract signed with us, and we're going to hold you to the terms of that contract. And unless the conditions of that contract vis-a-vis breaking that contract are met, we're not going to let you go. And then they couch it all in like the language of a family, which is it's a completely different semantic field. And they're saying, you're part of this family, and if you want to rejoin us, we'll welcome you back with open arms. And it's like, yeah, but you can't use corporate language of contract responsibility and then. Because if you translate the situation into a family, and there's someone in a family who's like, I would like to leave the family house, and you're like, no, you're staying in the family.
You're contracted here for a further 3 years.
You are contracted by the bonds of love and blood. That what's happening here is brinkmanship. And,
of course,
it's going to be fascinating to see how it works itself out. Because I can't think of any situation where this sort of thing has gone the distance, because usually, I guess, the situation is that a club has an asset that is very valuable in Alexander Isak. His contract is what makes him valuable, and his contract is essentially them paying season by season a certain amount for him to have sole playing rights for them.
Just for the right to register him as a player. Yeah.
They're paying wages as well.
Yeah.
So you take your flatline amortization and you take the wages, and you're talking a big chunk of money that Newcastle are paying so that Isak can play for them this season. The longer that contract goes on, the less value they're getting for that period of the contract, and also the less the value of the player is. Yeah. So essentially what they're saying is we're willing to just take a massive decline in value on a principle of maybe it's a moral principle, I don't know, but I guess if you have that amount of money, you can afford to do that. And I don't think we've ever seen clubs do that before, because there's not been many clubs who've been in a situation where they're willing to say we're willing to just take that massive hit of value because we can absorb it, which is kind of interesting, right?
I think that's what makes Newcastle such a specific case as well, isn't it? They've obviously got the finances to be able. I know PSR is hanging over them, but they can afford it if they need to.
Yeah, and this wouldn't come into PSR, right? I guess. I mean, obviously, if they could sell him, then it would. They would give them more buffer. But like, if they don't sell him, it's not like it then accrues like PSR. Negatives for them. It's just that they're not getting as much as they could do, right?
And it's also quite an important time for Newcastle in the sense that Isak is their first sort of big player who's probably looking like he's going to leave. And like Newcastle, as they set themselves out along this sort of project that they're trying to, reach the top levels with the Saudi investment, do they want to become a club who are basically a springboard to the biggest clubs, or do they want to become that final destination? And if they're seen as a selling club by the rest of Europe, who eventually, if you sort of get their players to kick up enough of a fuss, they'll eventually sell. Yeah. They don't want to become that. And Manchester City, when they had players who probably wanted to leave, they never did that. And I imagine that's what Newcastle are thinking is, let's say, it's unlikely to happen. Let's say they sign, I don't know, Kylian Mbappe, and he wants to move back to Real Madrid one time, and they're in a position where they want to keep him, it's going to be very difficult for them to say with a straight face, well, no, we're not going to sell, because they've got this, evidence that's happened before where they've let their biggest player go. So they've got to be really it's a really important time for them. It's so much bigger for Newcastle than just this individual player, which I think is why they're playing such hard ball on it.
Yeah, it's setting a precedent. It's worth just rowing back 1 second as well to talk about Newcastle's approach to it, because we've sort of had that conversation about the family, the corporate part of it, the ability to interpret and read in some condescension into the statement. It is worth saying that I think it seems as though Newcastle have done. If their attempt is to keep him, they've kind of done everything right every step of the way. Eddie Howe, as I read this in George's piece this morning in The Athletic, but he said Eddie Howe has tread the balance very carefully between not allowing their biggest player to just do and say whatever he wants and then come back, but also not ever closing the door so that him not coming back is that problem. And one way of interpreting Isak's statement yesterday is just slamming that door closed. And George's line is also setting fire to the building afterwards as well, making it really difficult to come back. What's already been a very tense and conflicting situation, Eddie Howe and Newcastle seem to manage relatively well, because until last night, it did feel as though he could show up on Monday and play against Liverpool, or maybe get that game out of the way and then play the weekend afterwards. And it could be similar as the situations like the ones with Harry Kane in the past, or with Wayne Rooney in the past, to big players who've asked to leave. So I feel as though it's worth saying that. But to your point, Kaya, I do think it's more important than just this player. And I think also it tells us something about the difference between maybe how Newcastle see themselves and where they want to be, and where the transfer market and players actually see them. Because we just did a piece on Tifo Football. It was a conversion of an article written by Tom Harris on The Athletic. It was about Frankfurt and their approach to the transfer market and to squad building, and how they've made something like 350 million euros profit over the last 6 years just from strikers, all of these amazing players that they've bought and sold, including most recently Hugo Ekitike, for example. And they attribute their success to a number of things. One of them is that they sign players, they have excellent coaches, and they tell them, when you want to leave and when you're ready to move on to the next step, we won't step in your way. It's also something that Pep Guardiola does with his teams, even at the top, at the elite level. Pep Guardiola doesn't stand in the way of players that want to leave either, because he, I assume, knows that those players won't be as valuable to what they can contribute to the team, because they don't really want to be there, right? So I think what this tells me is that in this situation, Alexander Isak, at least, and maybe therefore the rest of the transfer world, still believe Newcastle to be somewhere closer to the Frankfurt level, where they're not the end destination club, where they are a club where you can go and you can have, now you have an incredible shop window, because they're also in the Champions League, and then a team like Liverpool comes in and you want to get your move. Yeah. So from Newcastle's perspective, you can completely understand and respect the fact that they don't want to be Frankfurt, they want to be Liverpool. They want to say, well, hey, we have aspirations to win the Premier League in the next 10 years. We want to win the Champions League. We don't want to let our best players go. And yet you're faced with the reality that your best player is telling you are Frankfurt. I don't know, how are Newcastle supposed to deal with that differently than they have done?
I think we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto territory with this, right? I think it's because of the context within which all of this is happening, right? It's that Newcastle do want to try and assert themselves, and they can afford to devalue their asset. I mean, you mentioned Pep Guardiola, and I think that's really interesting, because with Guardiola, whenever a player says, I want to leave, he's like, fine, go, because I think he realizes,
I didn't want you anyway.
But I think he just realizes it's very hard to maintain a squad where you've got people who are not moving in the same direction, right? And that's a fundamentally important part of what being a successful squad looks like. It's quite interesting if you read I've been reading a lot of Pep Guardiola's press conferences from last season, and so much of you always sort of read them wanting for him to be like that. The reason why we're struggling is because of this tactical thing here, and if all we need to do is tweak this and we'll be okay. But so much of what he comes out with in last season's press conferences is it's so hard to retain that level of performance at the very top level, because you have to have everyone pulling in the same direction. You have to have belief, and it's almost like a very naive belief. You almost have to be brainwashed into believing we are going to win this. And he says, after so many years of success and with the same players, it's very hard to retain that level of of desire and momentum. And so I think when you read those kind of comments, it's very understandable why he lets players go, because I think he thinks as soon as you get someone coming in and destabilizing things a bit, you lose everything. You only need. Yeah. And it's not a bad apple. I don't want to use the phrase bad apple. It's just one person who isn't committed to that, and then suddenly that self-doubt starts dripping in. So I think it's very difficult for Newcastle because, maybe they can do this brinkmanship. Maybe they can keep Isak all season and not play him because presumably he might not want to play. Yeah. But I don't think it achieves anything, right? Because you're affecting the way that other players see you as a club. So if a player joins, they'll be like, I have to join this club knowing that unless the conditions of my contract are met, I'm not going to be able to get out of here, which is, for a lot of players, they care more about their career than they do about the club that they play for. And, fans of clubs might not like that, but that's the reality of it. And then, what happens to the rest of the team morale when one of your best players is there and is around the building and not being played? So I think it's a really tough line for them to walk.
Very tough. I just got the most incredible spam text message. It simply reads, it's a UK mobile phone number, but it simply reads, "Are you still there?"
Is that Newcastle fishing to Alexander Isak?
Maybe it is. Well, just to linger on this for 1 second longer, John, you and I watched Newcastle against Villa over the weekend. It was a snooze fest, but also I felt a little bit sorry for Anthony Gordon because there were a few moments where a taller striker and a more natural 9 might have been able to have a shot on goal, and the ball just sort of skimmed over his head, or just, he wasn't quite in the right position. They don't really have, currently, they don't really have a clear alternative to playing the season without Alexander Isak. Just how, damaging is it going to be for Newcastle, regardless of whether he stays or not, but if he doesn't play?
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle had the highest number of headed goals last season, and a big part of their game plan is to play quite direct football, and often they will just get early crosses into the box. Alexander Isak is a fantastic player to target in those sorts of situations. They have William Asula, who I've been pretty impressed by when he's come on, but they're obviously only wanting to play him 10 minutes at the end of games.
Yeah.
They need to have someone who they can fit into their as a target. I quite like
Johan Wissa has been mentioned.
Yeah, and I mean the thing with Newcastle is they've been through everyone on the market, right? That's kind of the problem they've faced, and they've either been gazumped or something has come up. But with Wissa, I guess it's the same situation or similar situation.
I don't know. Is it what is the situation, Kai, with Johan Wissa of Brentford?
Yeah, well, it's similar in the sense that Brentford haven't wanted to sell Wissa, and Wissa wants to go. Right. Newcastle have put in an offer. I think the Athletic reported around 25 million for him. Brentford want a lot more than that.
Sure.
And
there's so many echoes.
Yeah, I know. Wissa originally didn't turn up for pre-season training, wasn't involved, hasn't played any of their pre-season friendlies, wasn't involved in their opening day loss at Nottingham Forest, but is training with Brentford, which is a crucial difference between the two. And you do get the feeling...
Did he put out a PFA statement last night?
He's not put out a PFA statement. He also wasn't at the PFA dinner, though.
He wasn't there either?
He wasn't there.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I wonder where he was. We won't know because he didn't put out a statement.
Scrolling through Instagram, Alexander Isak's Instagram.
He's like, I should have done this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'd be funny if he did, but I think,
And then a Brentford counter statement, of course. That's what we were really denied.
Oh, I really wanted
what the real heads
statement. Yeah. That would have been great fun.
But the crucial difference is obviously Brentford. I know they've sold a lot of their players this summer, and we've had sort of conversations about whether they've been truly gutted or not. I think we've debated that. But obviously, Norgard's gone, Flecken's gone, Burma's gone, manager's gone. Thomas Frank, indeed. Yeah. So if Wissa were to go too, that would be a lot of losses. And but Brentford are a club who sell their business model is to sell their big. They want to be Frankfurt, to go back to your analogy before, whereas Newcastle obviously don't, which is the big crucial difference between the two. Whereas you feel eventually Wissa probably would get that move because Brentford can't really afford to just have a player who's sitting and doing nothing.
Sure.
Newcastle seem like a club who would be more willing to absorb that hit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd be very curious to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about it more. It's also just worth mentioning there are other players not currently involved in their squads. We saw some of that over the weekend. Højlund and also Anana didn't play in the Manchester United team. Yves Bissouma at Spurs, Johan Wissa at Brentford, Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea, Savigno at Manchester City, Ederson at Manchester City. So, there are players. Let's move on to discuss another player who did play despite some transfer interest. That, of course, is Eberechi Eze, who it's reported by The Athletic on Tuesday, so yesterday as I'm speaking, that Tottenham are now in a one-horse race to sign.
If there was one team that could lose a one-horse race.
They did come third in a two-horse race before, so you know.
Oh, dear me. We talk about football fans having short memories, Kyle, but that's quite a deep one there. What a year, 2016. Everyone loved it. Now, they're in a one-horse race, which I assume is some kind of endurance race, to sign a 27-year-old from Crystal Palace after Arsenal have cooled their interest and their jets, presumably. The clubs haven't reached an agreement, but they're continuing to talk, and there is apparently a good chance of this happening. I mean, I don't know. Kai, it seems like a sort of obvious fit, doesn't it? I assume Eze would just like walk in and be their best player.
Yeah, particularly now that James Maddison has done his ACL and is looking like he's going to miss most of the season.
What a shame for him.
Yeah, it is sad, particularly in a World Cup year. I mean, you never know with him, particularly with new management. Gareth Southgate didn't like him, but it seems like maybe Tuchel would have done. But
sure.
Yeah.
I feel like he won't play for a while, though. I thought when you said you never know, it's like you were implying somehow that maybe his ACL would miraculously recover over a week.
Roberto Baggio, I think, recovered from an ACL in something like 90 days. Like it does happen.
In the past, they were better in the past,
exactly.
weren't they? It was
things
better
were
in the
so
past.
Much better in
John,
the 90s.
wasn't it better in the past?
I think things were better when we were younger, yeah. But I actually think that ACL recovery's time has probably got shorter in the present.
Right. There were liars in the past.
Yes.
Roberto Baggio wasn't actually
No,
recovered.
I mean, obviously there's levels of severity. Let's get that very clear. I'm not
Outliers.
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't.
No, I like to think that the game of football just wasn't very athletically competitive in the past, and therefore you could play with an ACL injury. I think that's it. I would have been able to play in that Roberto Baggio team.
Which one?
The best one.
You'd have got the penalty in as well, wouldn't you? You wouldn't have put it over the bar.
Yeah. 94. Yeah.
Don't need a knee to take a penalty, famously.
Yeah.
That one or the Diana Ross one?
The Diana Ross one. I would have scored that one as well.
Yeah.
I would have scored
against a mascot, wasn't it?
Who dived out the way.
I believe so. I wonder if there'll be any sort of homage to that in the coming summer.
Because the goal exploded as well, because they were expecting her to hit the back of the net.
Sure.
And obviously she didn't, which is fun.
It's very embarrassing.
Who would be the modern day equivalent to Diana Ross to
Who
blow
is
up the
today's
goal?
Diana Ross?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
I mean, I guess it was Diana Ross. Was Diana Ross ever that famous as Taylor Swift? I wonder if it's more of a sort of Billie Eilish.
I'm just
Sabrina
thinking of
Carpenter,
who would they get to do it this time around?
Oh yeah, who could they get? I mean, Donald Trump. Him and Gianni Infantino would be on there together, exchanging tips on how to extend their term length. Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? That's fun.
Eze.
So Eze will be good. Okay, let's move on. Great. How about this? Kaya.
Yep. Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
You weren't here on Monday.
No.
You
called me though.
I did call
and
you.
then hung up on me straight away. Yes.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was fun.
You do that every time you ring someone on the podcast, and you find it hilarious every time.
It's childish, but it sort of it will never fail to bring me joy.
It's a rite of passage in a way.
It is, isn't it?
I feel truly part of the family.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I hang up on my mother as well. Now, let's say Arsenal. We talked about Arsenal on Monday. You weren't here. Now, the listeners will know you're a big Arsenal fan, aren't you? I mean, you're tall as well, so you are actually a big Arsenal fan.
In every sense of the word, yes.
Yeah. Steve tried his best to make Monday's show as biased towards Arsenal as possible.
I did listen back to the show, yes.
I'm glad you weren't here because I think it would have teetered over the edge into sycophantic Arsenal commentary.
Sounds like the right level.
We thought because we are sycophantic, we should talk about them some more now. I'm mainly curious to hear what you thought of Victor Gyökeres because you
you love this topic.
Just two things. One, you were so excited about it. You talked about it every day beforehand. You come in.
I don't know.
You bought an Arsenal shirt that's got Gyökeres on the back, and
it's a nice kit.
Yeah, you've got that. And you were saying, I just can't wait to see him score a hat-trick on the first day. And then you came in this morning and Alex Barker was able to mock you about a poor performance.
Yeah.
What did you actually make of him?
It's been a great morning for me. I've dropped one of my AirPods down a drain and then came in to find a very sort of genuinely he couldn't sit down. He was so excited, Alex Barker, to
getting bullied by
He
Alex
was fully
Barker.
squatting next to me because he was too excited to sit down.
Oh, he's such a little troll.
Yes. Yes. But it was. I feel like there's been a lot of overreaction to one bad 60-minute period for Victor Gyökeres, and that's what I'm telling myself.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't a thrilling debut, of course, and you would have wanted to see more signs. I mean, like it did feel like his touch was kind of trampoliny at times, and that's not good. It felt like he lost physical battle to Matthijs de Ligt, which when you look at a striker of his like physical profile is kind of, you would think that's the kind of thing he would relish. But I thought de Ligt played really well, in fairness to de Ligt. That's something that's sort of been omitted from the conversation. But yeah, Gyökeres didn't seem like he was capable of winning that physical battle, and be interesting against Leeds, who have lots of big boys in the team generally, how Gyökeres will cope with that as well. But it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think he's match fit, and I think Kai Havertz picked up an injury during pre-season, and if Kai Havertz hadn't picked up that injury, I don't think Gyökeres would have started that first game because he doesn't look match fit. He's only played a couple of games for Arsenal, and you know, didn't have any training at all with Sporting before he joined the Arsenal camp, which I think was 2 weeks late. So he's a bit behind everyone, and you could really see that. And yeah, it's not the best start. I won't pretend anything else because you won't let me pretend anything else. But yeah, it was. I have to admit, it was a little disappointing because, you know, there's a lot of hype around him and there's a lot of excitement. But I didn't see too much different from him than I had seen in his pre-season games. Some of those, I mean, the worries about Gyökeres are very much there. Sort of, will he be able to cope with the step up to the Premier League? Very big question mark still. But hopefully, I think
there always is for any player that comes from outside.
Yeah, and I think he's in an unfortunate position of having way more scrutiny than the average player because he's been brought in as Arsenal's sort of saviour, even though, in my opinion, the number 9 position isn't as important for Arsenal as the left wing position. Because I think Kai Havertz is actually quite a good player.
Sure.
And he was on track for 20 goals last season before he got injured, and people forget that. But yeah.
It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on the fact that I think for seasons now, Arsenal fans have been talking about how they need a player who can help them in transition, and they got a number of transitional opportunities in that game, none of which really came off.
Yeah.
Numbers of reasons for that. And I know the fan base are very critical of Martin Odegaard in those situations anyway. But yeah, what did you make of, because it's not even just the transitional stuff where they got in behind Man United's high press and then had space to attack. Also, like, I thought Arsenal were pretty happy going long to Gyökeres, and as you say, it wasn't just that he lost the battle with de Ligt in like foot races, and actually largely came out okay when he did those channel runs. Not always, and it didn't produce much when he did win them. But I felt like the really worrying thing was just how often Arsenal tried to just use Gyökeres as a hold-up player, and he just didn't get anywhere near the ball.
Yeah, and they have had 2 players in Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus up front who are actually quite good at that. Yeah. You know, Jesus is on the smaller side, but he's actually quite a good target man, which people I don't necessarily think realise. But yeah, that's a problem that he's going to have to solve. But he's not this sort of come short striker. He's a running behind kind of guy. And it was interesting that Arsenal tried to use that. And you noticed in pre-season that they were trying to be a lot more direct. In the Bilbao game where they won 3-0, they won the Emirates Cup, so the trophy drought was over. They played a lot more direct football, and there was a lot more balls in behind. And the goal that Kai Havertz ironically scored came from a kind of quick Odegaard ball in behind to him. I think it was Odegaard who played it. And there was one in that Bukayo Saka scored where they just lobbed the ball over the defence. And that's the kind of thing that I think Arsenal are going to try and do more of this season. And I think the Premier League in general is becoming a lot more transitional and a lot more sort of fast breaks and all that kind of stuff.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was right. That's what we're saying.
Yeah,
he should have stayed.
My Twitter mentions right here in the flesh. But I just thought it was interesting that, like, I think fans always think, oh, we just need this one player who's going to fix us. And I think it's particularly in those transitional moments quite interesting to be like, oh, it's not quite so simple as just get into these scenarios and have the players who can benefit from them.
Sure.
You need to know what you're doing in those scenarios as well.
James McNicholas has done quite a good article on The Athletic about the runs that the Arsenal players were making. A lot of them were running very centrally and into the same space, which is probably not what you want to do when you're in those transitional positions. You want to try and stretch the defence as much as possible. And Arsenal didn't really do that. And I think the most worrying thing about the Arsenal performance and why everyone's so down on it is the fact that if you told me it was from the first day of last season or midway through last season without sort of any context, I probably would have believed you. It didn't feel like there was any sort of development, and they've signed 6 players to try and change the style and try and transition towards a more, I suppose, exciting style of football, and it was very classic Arsenal 24-25.
I think it's interesting you say that because it felt quite different to me. I don't know. It did feel quite different to me in a lot of respects, and it's so hard. It's such a hard game to read because if we were talking about Arsenal playing the way that they usually play, and then Gyökeres just sort of having the debut he had, then it would be a very bad look for him, I think, because he would have looked miles off where the Arsenal players were. But the Arsenal players in general all look quite far off the pace.
Yeah,
it's worth saying John watched it 3 times.
I did hear that.
So it's possible he saw things you didn't.
Yeah, either that or I'm just an idiot, which is also possible.
So unfair. I guess, no, but for me, there's 2 possibilities here. One is that what's happened is that Arsenal have just mistimed their pre-season fitness regime, so that they're not quite match fit at the right time.
So Declan Rice, for example, looked quite off physically. I don't know if there was something else at play there if he was injured, but he's an example. Sure.
I think there was a number of players who were just way off the level of what you would expect. I thought Saliba was poor as well, and I usually expect just perfection from him usually. So it did feel like there was a team.
He was pretty good at pushing the goalkeeper out of the way for that goal. I thought he timed that really well.
I think you'll find he was just standing there, and that's allowed.
Can I say about that? I know I'm interrupting. I'm not. Listen.
Do you think it was a foul?
I'm not. I know I'm interrupting an interesting conversation, but I've got a dripping take here. Okay. I'm not saying it's a foul. I'm saying I don't understand why it isn't a foul. And here's what I have to say. I don't want to see that called as a foul.
You don't think it's a foul, but you don't understand why it wasn't given as a foul.
No.
It is a dripping take.
It's dripping. Listen.
Schrodinger's foul.
Listen to me, okay? I don't want to see that called as a foul. I believe it should be a goal, right? So that's at the starting point. I believe that the goalkeeper should grab the player and throw the player to the floor and then grab the ball, right? I wish that was what was allowed. All I'm saying is that when I look at what it is, Saliba uses his body, his only purpose is to wait for the goalkeeper to jump and then push him so he can't get the ball. And how is that? He doesn't make an attempt to play for the ball. He doesn't try to get to the ball at all. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's been instructed to do it by his coach, to wait for the keeper to jump and then push him so he's misaligned for where the ball is. And if you do that to any other player anywhere else on the pitch, it is usually considered a foul. So I don't want to see that as a foul because I think it would become impossible for anyone to score from corners.
Yeah.
I'm happy Arsenal scored that goal. I want to see that scored all the way through the season.
Me too.
I don't understand the technicality as to why that isn't considered just like a deliberate obstruction or a cynical obstruction of play. Of justice.
Yes.
My slight counter to that would be goalkeepers.
Is it a counter statement?
It's a counter statement. Well, no, it's a counter rebuttal.
Okay.
Goalkeepers that's not what it is.
That's just a double negative.
Rebuttal is 3.
You've gone all the way around there, haven't you?
Maybe I'm going to agree with you. I don't know.
It's just a bottle.
I could counter your rebuttal in a moment if you want.
Yeah,
rebuttal me first.
Okay, I'll rebut you.
Rebuttal me once. Shame on you.
Double rebuttal. Shame on who? I'm confused.
The obvious thing for me is goalkeepers can use their hands and they have a massive height advantage when it comes to those kind of things.
So they should be allowed to be fouled.
Not that they should be allowed to be fouled. Sure. They already have an advantage when it comes to those kind of corners and crosses into the box. So they are already taller than any other player.
Yeah.
So I guess you're trying to find a way of cancelling out, rebutting that advantage.
Allowing them to be fouled. No, I understand what you're saying.
Exactly.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. I at some point, let's remember this conversation. And when it happens against Arsenal at some point, which it probably won't because Arsenal are excellent at defending corners. Oh no, they were rubbish at defending corners last year, weren't they?
Set pieces, Arsenal weren't great actually.
That was bad
defensively.
Let's have it happen in a neutral game or against Arsenal, and then let's discuss it again.
Yeah, but the referees only call it against Arsenal, as you know.
Oh, that's true. It's impossible, isn't it? We circle around it. One other thing that unfortunately the referees didn't call against Arsenal in this situation, but it was called against Burnley's Martin Dubravka. He was the first Premier League goalkeeper to be penalised for the new 8-second law where goalkeepers will concede a corner if they hold onto the ball for too long. Now, I don't want to be cynical or suspicious, but it did look a little bit to me like Arsenal's forwards were trying to
Yeah.
have the Man United goalkeeper Bayindir hold on to the ball for quite a long time. Not that successfully, I would say. I think someone was booked for doing it. Gyökeres was booked for doing it. But sure, Arsenal could benefit from that, couldn't they? If they're to get more corners.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Another way of getting corners that isn't from open play.
Yeah.
Open play possession. It's
of course.
perfect for them.
Yeah.
I do love the idea that one of us, Mikel Arteta, sort of or coaches, has gone to Victor Gyökeres. You know what you could do? Don't worry about the scoring goals or the hold-up play. Your job today is win us some corners.
Do you think they've ever considered, Arsenal, that the best way to get a corner is by having a corner? Because how many times is it when you take a corner and it goes out for another corner?
Yeah.
You're probably more likely to get a corner than from any other kind of play. Do you know what I mean?
But then if you don't score from the corner, you get surely the ultimate objective is the goal from the corner.
Of course, but Arsenal are always going to score from corners. So if they
can't they? If they always score from corners.
But if they keep getting another corner, there's always the opportunity that they'll score a goal. Do you know what I'm saying?
But if it's a constant corner rather than corner goal.
I didn't say it was a foolproof system, Steve. I just said. But no, go on, Kaya. What? You've got an idea about this, haven't you?
Well, I've got an idea. Yes.
What's your idea?
My idea is that I think we spoke a little bit about how Arsenal are being more transitional, and the Premier League generally is leaning towards becoming a more transitional league. It became more transitional than the Bundesliga in terms of there were more fast break shots, fast break goals last season, fast break XG as well. And that is interesting in terms of, I wonder if the 8-second rule is going to lead to more of that, because goalkeepers want to release the ball more quickly, which obviously leads to more transitions and leads to more counterattacks. And last season, there were 112 fast break goals in the whole league. This weekend alone, there were 12, which if it continues on that trajectory, there's a lot of things
Do the maths off the top of your head.
12 times
38 game weeks. No one help him.
How many were there in the... There's 12 this week across the whole...
You guys talking about yourselves.
It's in the 400s. It's in the 400s.
360 is 12 times 30 times...
Do 360 times 10 and then
480 minus 24.
Come on, you've got it.
456.
156?
456.
456.
I think.
I don't know.
Times 30, yeah.
Someone live check
456.
Oh,
yeah.
Well done.
Well
nice.
Done. Oh,
well, I can't. I'm so excited to watch every single one of those 456 fast break goals.
Yes, it's going to be fun. Well, I mean, obviously, there's things to point out, and I spoke to Mark Carey about this, and there's things to point out that correlation is not necessarily causation, and there's lots of things.
It's a sample size of one.
It's the sample size of one weekend, and teams have obviously. There might be certain factors that lead to it. But it is interesting to think that I think Pep Guardiola has spoken about how his style of controlled football and his and Mikel Arteta's style of controlled football is maybe going out of fashion a bit more, and a lot of teams are playing a lot more transitional football. You're smiling at me in a way.
Today, modern football is the way that Bournemouth play.
Yes. Is this Alexander Isak?
That Newcastle play.
Okay.
This is Pep Guardiola.
This is Newcastle's rebuttal. That Brighton play, that Liverpool play. Liverpool have always been like
family
that.
And retain our family values.
Liverpool have always been like that, like we were. Guardiola said this, by the way, in an interview with TNT at the end of last season. He said, it is modern football. Modern football is not so positional. What a shame for you, John. The era of you is over.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that much of a problem for me, I don't think.
Let's go to an ad break then. Oh, welcome back from the advert break. Was it good? Let's talk about this now. It says possibly cut. Oh, it's not cut, Steve. Don't worry. Don't worry, Steve. We're going to talk about it anyway, even though we know that you want us to cut it.
Thank God I'm here.
Just going to bring the fourth wall down a little bit there for podcast listeners. During the ad break there, Steve tried to get us to cut this bit, but we didn't.
In the interest of professionalism rather than bias, you definitely winged it.
Interesting, isn't it? He was so keen on Monday's show for there to be balance at the halftime interviews in the Man United Arsenal game, and yet he tries to cut this graphic. Biggest spending managers since last winning a major trophy. Okay, this summer included. This is the money that's been spent this summer. Has been included. Now, where did this is
Transfermarkt.
This is Transfermarkt. Who made the graphic though? Was it Transfermarkt?
Yeah, that's their own social media, I think.
It was their own. Okay, so we credit Transfermarkt with this.
That's nice.
Do you want to guess Well, let's ask you, Kai, even though you've actually probably seen the graphic
I'm
already.
looking at it as
You're
we
looking
speak,
at it as,
yeah.
oh, what a shame. I can't get anyone to guess. Listeners at home, guess who's first. Now, remember, Steve Hankey wanted to cut this section. All the way out in front. Biggest spending manager since last winning a major trophy. It is, of course, Mikel Arteta. It's no surprise it's Mikel Arteta. Here's what is maybe a surprise. How much money?
Eye-watering.
In euros.
In euros.
Just for,
Which is really
currency.
a 1-to-1 ratio with the pound these days, Brexit and the world collapsing. It's 1 billion euros.
It's only euros, though. It's only 1 billion euros.
It's only euros.
Yeah.
I mean, the EU just give that money away for free, don't they? I think. Cool. Thank God we didn't join the euro back in the 80s, because then it would be 1 billion of our money. Mikel Arteta had spent. What a shame.
Oh, strong English pound. Would have been ruined by Mikel Arteta before.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the impact on currency? Now, Diego Simeone is second on this list, of course, with Atletico Madrid. The last time, I can't remember the last time he won a major trophy.
The league in the COVID season, I think, was the last mega trophy.
2021, was it? Or 21, 22?
I suppose, yeah, it would be 2021, yeah.
2021. And since then, they have spent quite a lot of money. I mean, I'm thinking of the big players that they've spent money on. Julian Alvarez, perhaps, I guess that was last summer, wasn't it? But 535 million euros, Diego Simeone. So just to be clear, the second placed person on that list is half of the money that Arteta has
It's not
spent.
quite half.
And it is euros.
It is in
Yeah, it's euros.
It is in euros. Okay, fine. Also on the list, we have Emery in third at 472 million euros. Guardiola, 438 million, which is kind of shocking because that's just because they didn't win something for one season, right? Which is, I mean, absolutely
Well, I mean, I guess
outrageous.
technically it's including this summer. So he would argue I could win a trophy this summer, in which case it would
It's
reset.
2 summers and a January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. We've got Niko Kovac, who I guess spent that at Bayern, did he?
Yeah. and
Spent a decent bit at Dortmund this summer as
Dortmund.
well, I guess.
Yeah, great, fine. Ten Hag, Slot, Pioli, Marcelino, Moyes is on there as well. Moyes has spent £232 million. But then I guess Moyes must be stretching back for so long.
No, the
Moyes has
Conference
won the
League they
Conference
won
League.
not too long ago.
Oh, I thought this said major trophies.
Oh,
Unfortunately, put all of that money into good use, as you saw on Monday night when they lost
Right.
ignominiously to Leeds United.
Yeah.
Did you watch that game, Steve?
I did not, no. Sadly.
Steve has a soft Everton.
I do.
bias.
I do. I'm the son of an Evertonian, so
Yeah.
Goodison Park was my first game of football.
How'd you end up supporting Arsenal?
Because Everton were really crap, like even for compared to that.
loves teams that spend money. That's what it is.
yes.
In
Fair
euros.
enough.
It's in
Yeah.
euros, famously.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, that's it anyway. I just thought I would say that, include that in there.
Can I just point out that the Emirates Cup has not been factored into this?
No.
So
And
it does
Arsenal
say
also won
major
a-
trophy.
Yeah, okay, they won a
With a-
trophy.
with
They
a-
won
with
the
an
Singapore
asterisk.
Singapore Cup. In
What does the
pre-season.
asterisk say?
When did
One-off
when-
games / Super Cups not included.
So that's why the English Super Cup, the Community Shield, isn't in there.
When did
Okay.
they win the FA Cup?
2020, the COVID season.
So they've spent €1 billion since 2020.
Do you know what's interesting about this list? Arteta and Simeone are both quite like defence-first managers.
Mm.
I wonder if that says anything about how you should play football in the modern era.
David Moyes is on here as
Yeah.
well. You could make an argument that Emery is quite defence-coded, but I don't
be
think you can make it about
defence-coded.
Guardiola.
Moyes as well.
I guess you kind of can make it about Guardiola.
I mean,
He's so afraid
I think
to
with
see
Guardiola,
possession.
the big thing there is that he's had to go through a massive rebuild, which they didn't. I think if he did it for the previous, I mean, obviously they won everything all the time, so it would have reset constantly. But
Sure.
I think that's probably, I mean, it is an inflated amount of money because they spent a lot because they ran their squad down. But
It's certainly a lot of money.
what do Arsenal fans think though about them? Because I was looking through Transfermarkt the other day, and Arsenal under Arteta have made like between 100 and 150 million loss in the market, as in they spent 150 million more than they've sold.
Plus, is it just carte blanche still, or is that like how many people in the fan base feel like if they don't win it this year, like how long can they be perennial,
Yeah, exactly.
ever near?
Yeah, I think there'll be more people this year who will be teetering towards is he the guy who can actually get Arsenal over the line? But I don't think internally there's any suggestion that he's under any
No.
pressure. So it's kind of like, what would be the point in getting so angry about that if he's never actually going to get sacked? You know, it's
What
a bit
would you
like
prefer
when,
though? Like, would you prefer Arsenal to finish second every
Yes.
year for the next 5 years and almost win it, like within like 5 to 10 points every time, or for Arteta this year to finish 5th, lose his job, and then hire a manager that can win the league.
But who is that manager?
Giroud.
Olivier Giroud.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I'm saying that with like a little bit of egg in my mouth.
Hypothetical manager.
Not egg in my mouth. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
What did I mean to say?
Egg on your face?
Egg on my face. No, I meant to say with
tongue in cheek.
With my tongue in my cheek, not an egg in my mouth.
Tongue in your cheek.
Presumably, there's a country somewhere that uses the phrase "an egg in my mouth."
Hey, he said it with an egg in his mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's what I was saying with an egg in my mouth. But I just mean like it. I don't know. It's like the competition's harder maybe than it's ever been before. You need,
which is why
in
he needs
some
to keep
cases,
spending.
Right?
I'm not even. That's not even. I mean,
no,
sort of jokingly,
Look,
but kind of true.
Guardiola's on the list as well. You know, like I'm sure like Slot's on the list at number 7. It's not like it's not. It is out of whack because it's $1 billion, and it has been a few years longer since he's won. I don't think the billion figure it stands out because it's a big round number.
Yeah, it's because Arsenal haven't won anything, and I think it is worth saying, as you mentioned, Arsenal came so close to winning things on a few occasions, which would reset this. So there's an element to which this is just a little bit.
Yeah, if the PGMOL wasn't against Arsenal, then this
there is maybe a point to be made about. So, for example, we're recording this the day after Trossard's been offered a new contract. Arsenal have an incredibly poor record of selling. Yeah. There's something like 16 teams in the Premier League that have a higher sale record.
That is something that is a big conversation among the fan base. And I think a lot of people are looking at Andrea Berta this summer to try and get some more money for players from sales. And Trossard
was like a great example of a player who was coming towards the end of his contract. It would make sense to try and sell him on, and they've offered him a new contract.
It's a very odd decision and also it means that he'll cost more, he'll be more difficult to sell. He's, I think, 30 this year, if he's not 30 already. So it was already a relatively difficult sale to get big money for. So yeah, it's a weird decision. I think Arsenal have been...
Could you just to linger on that for 1 second though, could you make the argument that for the last 2 years, they've been making decisions to win now and keeping Trossard, keeping extra depth when injuries have cost them, you could argue, the championship in previous seasons, that it's a win now decision, which probably does negatively impact them in a couple of years' time. But given that they haven't won yet, there's an argument to say that makes sense.
This whole summer is the win now summer, supposedly, for Arsenal. If you look at just the age profile alone of the players they've signed, Norgard is over 30. I think Kepa is 29, Gyökeres is 27, Madueke is a bit younger, and Mosquera is a bit younger too. And there's another player who is Mendy's 26, soon to be 27. So
Gyökeres is 27.
He's 27, yeah.
Oh.
Which is famously the age you start learning and improving as a footballer.
I love how funny you find Gyökeres.
But yeah, generally there is. I mean, you can make the win now argument, but I think Arsenal's sales thing has been an issue for a while. But there's lots of players in the squad who are on big wages who they can't shift right now. So Zinchenko is a really good example. Jakub Kiwior is not on the biggest wages, but he's certainly a player who wasn't even in the matchday squad at the weekend. He was great last season when they needed him, but he's probably not in the plans immediately right now. Fabio Vieira is another one who they can't get rid of. Albert Samuel Lokonga is still on the books, and there's Reece Nelson is still on the books as well. So there's lots of players there wwho clearly Mikel Arteta doesn't have in his first team plans and could move. And I think, especially when you look at Liverpool, who I think have sold Ben Doak either yesterday or today for another 20 million. Looks like Harvey Elliott could go for 40 million.
Yeah.
City do it all the time as well.
They got Luis Diaz.
Exactly. They're very good at knowing when the right time to sell is, and Arsenal haven't been, which is a real issue for them. And it's I think.
I wonder how much of this
join us next week on the Arsenal podcast as well. I feel like saying, I think we should move on simply because we've done a lot of Arsenal chat today. And I know the Arsenal listeners at home both love and hate that in equal measure. But I'm bored now. Before we finish, one last thing. There was a really fun piece on The Athletic, I think it was over the weekend. It was about shirt numbers and what they signify at every Premier League club this season. Steve Hankey's pulled out a couple for us. I'm going to play a little guessing game with you guys. I think it'll be easy. I mean, it's certainly going to be easy as a starting point. Let me ask you this. The number 14 at Arsenal. Who now plays in that shirt and why is that significant?
I know.
Okay, John, you go.
Thierry Henry.
Well, Thierry Henry doesn't now play in that shirt.
Actually, Theo Walcott.
Also, Theo Walcott doesn't play in that shirt now.
Oh, Eddie Nketiah.
Eddie Nketiah doesn't play.
Yeah, Emerick Aubameyang.
No. Who plays in that shirt now?
Is there any other? earlier ones? I'm trying to think. Did Pires or Reyes wear the 14?
No. Who would have been 14 before Henri? I don't know. Yeah.
There's definitely
There's a way of looking this up. Ethan Waneri could get 14 in the future. Marcelo Skelly is 49.
It's Gyökeres.
It's Victor Gyökeres. It's Victor Gyökeres. He's Arsenal's number 4.
But he's the big number 9.
He's the big number new 14, which explains things a little bit to me. It's partly because number 14 was available, but the history of the shirt being worn by
Martin Keown.
Oh, wow.
Number 14.
Wow, really? Well, apparently it's also just because of the history of it being worn by a striker, Thierry Henry. That can't be ignored. That's why it's significant, writes The Athletic. Okay, next up, who is the number 10 at Chelsea?
Well, it's Cole Palmer now.
It's Cole Palmer now. Was it not last season?
No. What was he last season? Was he 14?
I want to say 20.
He's 20.
He was 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mudryk.
Yeah,
He was
Madrid,
10.
potentially, yeah.
That feels, it feels significant, but not in any way surprising.
Yeah.
Right? He's very clearly the number 10 of that team.
Yes.
Okay. Who is the number 9 at Newcastle? And why is it significant?
Feels like a trick question.
It is
Callum
a
Wilson's
trick
gone.
question. I assume it's Alexander Isak.
He's
Is it
14.
not? He's 14.
He's 14.
Oh, hang
So
on.
is it Osula then? He's the only one that's left. Callum Wilson's gone.
And what was his number?
Callum Wilson? No.
Oh, it was Callum Wilson. Right.
The shirt is empty in multiple meanings of the word.
Alan
No
Shearer.
one has it.
Steve actually left the answer out of the quiz, so even I didn't know in that instance. So now no one's got it. And wouldn't it have been nice this summer if Alexander Isak would have taken the 9?
At Liverpool.
Maybe it will be in his counter statement. Okay, number 19 at Manchester United.
Ooh. Is it Mbeumo?
It's Brian Mbeumo, yeah, who also wore it at Brentford and at Troy. Is that how you say Troy?
Troyes.
Troy. And at Troy. Troy. Yeah, how about that? It's written here, Steve, that it clearly means a lot to him. Is there a reason why?
Well, I mean, if he's chosen it for, the article doesn't say that.
Oh.
It's just that that's me editorializing, as is my want.
Right.
So if he's worn it at Troy, it's sort of like,
Troyes.
what's interesting about this is this kind of like 10 is a kind of trequartista iconic, broadly in football number, as is number 9. So in some instances, those decisions have been made, but others, like 14, becomes iconic as a players.
Sure.
Or for Mbeumo, 19 just means something to him.
Sometimes players like to do that thing where they have a 2-digit number where the individual digits within the 2 digits add up to another number that
Dennis
they like.
Rodman did that where he had like,
There was a striker
10
who did that as well, wasn't it? He
basketball.
was 18 and because it added up to 9 or something.
Right. I'm wondering
and they
if
wanted to have the 9, but
okay.
they couldn't have the 9.
with Mbeumo it's 19, 1 plus 9 equals 10. Maybe it's just because he wants to be the 10.
Who
But
is the 10?
Who's
Is
the
it
10 at
Mason
Man
Mount?
United?
Mouse and Main.
No,
Mason
Mason
number
Mount's
7.
7, yeah. I knew he had a weird one.
It's not Fernandes, is it?
No, Fernandes
No,
is
it's
8. Is Cunha 10?
Cunha will be 10.
Cunha's
surely.
10. Yeah, there you go. 1 plus 9 equals 10. Could be that.
They're both 10s.
Yeah. Okay. And of course also, this just feels sad, but the number 20 at Liverpool
Retired.
is
Yeah.
now retired, of course, because it was Diogo Jota's number. James Milner has changed his shirt number at Brighton to 20 in order to honour his former teammate, which is nice. And obviously, numbers have been retired previously by football clubs for players who've died tragically young. Fiorentina retired the number 13 following the devastating death of club captain David Astori in 2018 as well. It happens. There we go. Well, what a somber note to end the Tifo podcast on. But upside is there's a Tifo podcast on a Wednesday / Thursday now. This is the second of the week. Did we ever announce that we were doing 2 a week, Steve?
Yeah.
Did we?
Ages ago, though. So
No memory of
Yeah.
it.
Doesn't mean no one's listening to this.
I don't know, maybe.
It's just us.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
fun.
What was your favourite bit?
Rebutting you.
Yeah, I like the rebutting as well. I liked it when you rebutted me
Thank you.
because it gave me a second opportunity to rebut you.
Yeah.
You know,
A re-rebuttal.
a re-rebuttal. What was your favourite bit, John?
I liked how happy you got whenever Gyökeres was mentioned.
Part of me
You
hopes
just love
for
the
him-
drama, don't you?
I do. Part of me hopes for him that he comes out against Leeds and scores a banging hat-trick.
Part of me hopes for me. It's Alex Barker just coming up to me in the office. I just can't deal with it.
Yeah,
so-
for your own safety, I think
Yeah.
Gyökeres needs to start scoring.
But
immediately.
Barker
so-
doesn't support a team. I think it's very calculated.
I know.
I don't think he
very
should
hard
have the
to come
right.
back at him.
I think it shouldn't be fair for him to actually have a go at people for the team they support.
Well, you could level that at me as well.
Yeah, sure.
Don't say that. No, don't do that.
No,
Don't
it's
do.
fine.
Why don't you believe me? It's such bull.
Guess
Yeah,
in the
I
comments
agree.
who Joe supports, everyone.
No,
Yeah. Someone in my Twitter mentions this week mentioned how you're so neutral on said club. And I was like,
I am. Ow, my knee.
my knee, let's chat. That's the end of the podcast.
I am. Listen. I don't talk about this on here. Okay,
It's fine. We've
fact.
not talked about it.
No, we've talked. No.
Circled around the drain.
This
of
is
your football support.
This is what I do to you. You're not allowed to do it
Why
to
not?
me.
You're a Newcastle fan, aren't you?
The rules are different on the Wednesday podcast. Steve. the Raptors are getting out of their cage. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of the. See you later.